Well, I can through the chair, Mr. Canella, and I can say that I appreciate your perspective and the concerns that you bring forth. One, it's a little difficult for me, as you say, the law of physics. I'm not a physicist, so not seeing the chart, the Cal ISO, or being privy to Mr. Picker's editorial comments with regards to overload, if you will, of energy as it pertains to the grid itself specifically. I'll refrain from engaging those comments. With regards to the hydro plants, and the one specifically, obviously, in your backyard, obviously, we're in the nascent stage of the formation of the measure itself. So all perspectives will be listened to. And obviously, as a very good member in great standing of the State Senate, your perspective is always invaluable. With regards to the Central Valley, and as it pertains to electrical vehicles and 50% petroleum reduction use, I'm under no illusion whatsoever that in the immediate near future that everyone will be driving an electrical vehicle. You just made reference to the issue of costs and how electrical vehicles have sort of been out of reach, if you will, for the ordinary Californian. I, too, share that perspective that you share. The reality is, I think historically, the demographics and research have clearly pointed out that certain individuals, certain groups, demographic groups tend to purchase, electrical vehicles. Those with high educational attainment, those individuals who have access to disposable income, or obviously individuals who are conscientious about the environment. I think point blank, if we were to sort of do an overlay of California, a lot of parts of your district, folks aren't driving ZEBs. In my district that I represent, there are individuals who drive some of those vehicles. In other parts, like in Boyle Heights, like MacArthur Park and Pico Union area, some of the poorest areas in the state of California. In fact, arguably, I have the second poorest district in the state of California. There's a dearth, of electrical vehicles, and that's why through SB 1275, I wanted to make sure that all individuals, irrespective of who they are and where they come from, irrespective of the geographical area, irrespective of political ideology, has access, if you will, to bundle together the rebates at the federal and state level. It'll take a course of time, no doubt about it, but this is something I want to work with you and others. There's something I want to work with you to make sure that we can make electrical vehicles available to all individuals. It's about fuel efficiency. It's about better standards from car manufacturers so they can produce, more mileage per gallon in the state of California. We've set those standards in California, and we have met those standards. And as a result from those standards, the cars that Detroit manufactures for the entire nation are California standards. So if you purchase a car in Texas or in California, or I should say in Alabama or North Carolina, that's a California standard through California policy.
Just last point, energy efficiency I think is a great way to go, but I do think we need to tighten the standards down. I don't know, we spent a lot of money. I don't know if we've benefited from the money we spent. I think we need to tighten those standards down.
And you're making reference to, I believe, to the PUC, and I think the $1 billion, $1.5 billion that are vested on an annual basis from ratepayer dollars through the IOUs, through the PUC.
You could probably add that to your closing comments.
Okay.
We're going to
more
go
happy.
to Senator Morale.
Be more happy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator De Leon.
Senator Morale.
Mr. Tom Steyer, right? Correct. You made some forward thinking, which I appreciate, positive comments about creating jobs in the future. But one thing is we have the Chamber of Commerce, we have the Manufacturers Association, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, amongst many others who have had decades of a proven track record of creating jobs, millions of jobs. As stated today, the Manufacturers Association, I think, has 1.2 million people that are employed within this industry, although they've lost about 700,000 jobs over the last 10 years, going to other states, more business-friendly states. So the thing that I'm concerned about is you say this is going to create jobs, but yet, again, these organizations with millions employed under them, with proven decades of a track record, says this is a job killer. Could you address that for me, please?
I sure can. We first addressed that in 2010 when I was the co-chair with George Schultz of the No on Prop 23 campaign, where we were defending the existing energy laws in the state of California. And the Chamber of Commerce was in favor of Proposition 23 in 2010, just as they're against SB 350. What we did was we went around the state and we got different chambers of commerce, including Los Angeles and San Francisco, to go against the statewide chamber. We basically had as many business organizations on our side as they had on their side. The fact of the matter is we're seeing the growing jobs in the state of California, as I referenced with regards to clean energy, growing at a very large clip. And I think it's regardless of what we do about this bill, we're going to see that part of our economy continuing to grow. But this kind of policy is the kind of thing that will make that growth much faster and more important. So I think when you look at the percentage of venture capital money for clean tech that's going to be raised and spent in California, it's over 2/3. We have a gigantic opportunity. And in addition, in Southern California, we're the leaders in terms of implementation. So I feel as if we can be the first, we'll be the first down the cost curve in this industry worldwide. And as the rest of the world has to follow us, we will build gigantic businesses out of this. So I strongly believe this is good for America, for California employment.
I'm sorry, we're going to go over to
Yeah,
Senator
two quick
Hertzberg.
observations. First, to our pro tem physicist here, let me just share with you, I think that you're exactly on the right track with respect to pushing the policy, because often this notion that was articulated by Mr. Pickard is the challenge that a bureaucrat faces, somebody who's trying to regulate government. The truth of the matter is that the oversupply is going to dramatically, A, increase jobs in California by domestic production. B, if we change the rules of the CalISO, allow us to export energy, so it creates, again, more energy sector for California. C, be able to use transportation fuels, whether it's natural gas or electricity. And lastly, water in terms of using it. So I just think the opportunity of the duck curve, the oversupply, are extraordinary, and you're making it worse, but yet making it better. But let me ask this. This is what I want to ask about. Because if you look at your bill, most of your bill relates to both the RPS and to the oil, well, so somewhat the RPS. It's the RPS piece. The only section that I can see in the bill that deals with the energy efficiency, to which Mr. Steyer correctly, I think, opines that it's the low-hanging fruit, and what we've seen that globally, it's the low-hanging fruit, is Section 5. And if you look at Section 5, which is on page 7 through page 9 or whatever, the amendment to that up to page 10, is the amendment only says that we're going to expand this to 50%. It goes through all the hocus pocus, excuse my approach, the formal approach to this, about all the considerations we're going to have and how the agency has to consider this, and that they've got to come up with a plan. A plan. But if you study what we've done globally, and you study even what the federal government has done, what you don't have, except in the last paragraph, unless I misread this, and maybe somebody could help me here in the analysis, is you say, well, we're going to go to ARA, to the federal government, ask for dough, right? Well, that money's gone. The question I would just suggest is that it's an extraordinary opportunity for jobs. You know, you go talk to the insulators in 4 months, energy payback time for insulating pipes. Staggering opportunities, right? But it's all about the money. And the money is about securitization and revenue streams. I would only suggest to you is that of all the pieces of the bill that can put the most number of people to work, that can incubate the greatest number of businesses, that have the greatest number of supporters for workers, is this piece. The federal government has dramatically improved its energy efficiency in its government buildings, because it has a program where it allows companies to come in and say, okay, we're going to come into your company, we're going to spend $3 million to fix this building, and we're going to pay back by virtue of the building. Let's assume it's $10,000 a month for energy cost, and now it's $5,000. The $5,000 a month will pay back the debt, and you give them some rate of return on that. We don't let that happen in California. So I only suggest to you, as you drill into this bill, that the single most important component is the financing piece. Yeah. You talk about creating markets, Mr. Steyer, is the financing piece. And right now, we've got the promote that was there from back in the old days, and we've now extended to 50%. But I think there's tremendous depth and dimension for the policy, for money, for jobs creation here locally, to come up with financing mechanisms to make that happen. And it really is the saving revenue stream to do that, Mr. Pro Tem.
Thank you. We're gonna go to Senator Lara, and then you can incorporate any responses in your closing comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief. Also wanted to just say that I agree with the direction of this bill. However, I think there are some, as this bill moves forward, some things to consider, and I've talked to the author about. And I know this committee is dealing with the energy efficiencies on the RPS. I'll focus on, the issues on fuel and oil on as it moves to EQ. But as somebody who represents the most, if not the most important good movements corridor in our state and our country, I do share some of the same concerns that our Senator Canella does in terms of our trucking industry. And given the fact that in Long Beach, we do refine the state's oil supply that has led to billions of dollars to our state budget and general fund, that we tread carefully and that we look at ways to be technology neutral as we move forward, ensuring that we also have the ability to look back and to be able to create those checks and balances. My public fights with ARB, everybody knows, and it's a love-hate relationship. But we also have to ensure that we provide the appropriate checks and balances to ensure that the legislature can come back and review the policies and ensure that we're affecting the change that we want in your legislation. And again, ensuring that everyone gets to benefit. Because what we see and what we have to continue to see, the people that are making themselves rich out of these technologies don't look like you and I, and don't come from the economic experiences and backgrounds that we share. And so that if we want to make this as successful as possible, we have to ensure that everybody reaps the benefits, not only in terms of job creation, because, us people of color, all we want is a job. But now it's time for us to ensure that if we're going to create this and mainstream this, is that we not only get a job out of this, that we also get economic prosperity, and that the folks that are going to be able to make money off of this, it's diversified, and that are enjoyed throughout the entire economic strata of our state, and that we don't continue to widen this the gap between the rich and the poor. So those are just some comments I wanted to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Fuller?
First, just for the record, thank you for providing all the materials on time and an appropriate format. My first bill today that I could be very excited about, and I appreciate that very much, because we did have time to look through it. Thank you. And it gives me the confidence to trust your words that as this moves forward, that you will listen to all and that you will incorporate everyone's thoughts in order to make the policy appropriate to all Californians, past and future. The two things that I feel the need to talk about just briefly are, number one, I just need to set it straight about jobs, because one of my 3 counties happens to produces 80% of the gas and oil, 80% of the solar, and 70% of the wind. And we love the addition in energy, and we feel like we are the energy producer for California. And it's been very hard for us to put ourselves in that position. As you can imagine, that's not an easy marriage among all those groups. But we're very pleased with that. And we think that an integrated portfolio is a good thing in many ways, because we think it can drive changes. We think that it can help us move forward. And we think that we can balance the best supply possible for the least cost. But the worry that I have, besides the fact that has to do with my specific county, is that as we ramp up the solar and wind, we gained a few jobs, but it's mostly like 1 person per solar field, and you know how large solar fields are. And usually it's a very low-level job. It's really doesn't require a lot of expertise. So the jobs in my county that have come to us, even though we have huge fields that despoil the land the same as the gas and oil in terms of the look and the beauty, is very, very, very small. The oil and gas industry is very, very much more labor intensive. There's a lot more jobs. They're much higher expertise. Most of our small families that have been there for many, many years. And when we ramp down that particular industry, you really hurt our county. You really displace workers, and you you really don't leave us a way to replace that kind of infrastructure, as well as most of the production in ag that we have and the transportation corridors that we have in that county don't have an alternative available at any cost or at any time at this moment for us to be able to look to begin trying to transition our businesses. So the inland area, who have willingly served as the energy production for the rest of the state, will be hurt massively, and I doubt that we will ever recover. And our tax base is being affected already for other causes, but is really disproportionately hurting our families who are very needy, which we have a very large group too. So please consider those thoughts on the one hand. The other worry that I have is a larger worry, and I'll try to make it short. I appreciate the chair's patience. But that is the largest, most important question in this bill to me, is whether we are going to mandatorily cut off production or limit production, or whether we are going to encourage change of habits on usage. We have set upon the path of changing habits in usage of energy and actually done pretty well. Now, I'll be the first to say I wasn't always the first to lead that charge, but we've actually done pretty well. And if you look at the computer industry, it was all done through incentives and encouragement rather than mandates. We didn't just stop the production of old things. We found ways to make the market work. So I urge you to do the hard work before this bill is done. Do not leave it to the regulatory agency. At least move it, and I know this is unpopular, I don't even know if I agree with this, to the ISO or the CPUC, who are suppliers, who are in charge of our delivery, or give them some role. How can we task them with gaining supply and delivery, and then give someone whose mission is just to not worry about that, the regulatory power over them? I say that that is a fundamental problem, and I hope it can be worked out, and I think it will take a lot of time and effort. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up, and if you can make some brief closing comments.
Thank you very
We still
much.
have one more presenter and one more
Mr.
bill.
Chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much for this balancing act. We got caucus happening simultaneously, and we have Mr. Mac Taylor there, and I appreciate your indulgence, Mr. Chair, as well as members. I'm going to try to my best, sort of kind of touch upon, some of the points that were brought up. To my left here with regards to Senator Ricardo Lara, I appreciate and I understand your concerns. The question of color, the question of equity, as it relates to the issue of extreme weather patterns, just as importantly as it relates to potential economic growth and future economic forecasting, and who's included, if you will, in this economic growth and who's not included in the economic growth. I think it's quite telling that California, coming off the worst economic recession since 1929, and we just recently surpassed Brazil to occupy the 7th largest economy in the world. And we want to be able to sustain that and make sure that the economic growth of tomorrow is inclusive of all individuals. A point which is interesting, along with Senator Pavley and then Assemblywoman Pavley back in the day with regards to AB 32, you also had Speaker Nunez, a person of color from San Diego, Tijuana, the lead author of the measure. SB 350, you also have a person of color. En su servidor, Kevin De Leon. So you also see the coloring, if you will, of this green economy and the inclusiveness when you look at the numbers. Just recently with Mr. Robbie Hunter of the state building trades, who had an opportunity to show me data from the Central Valley of all these individuals without a high school diplomas who are apprentices, who are getting an opportunity for the energy efficiency space that Senator Bob Hertzberg just articulated, and very well, by the way, on this issue of the potential economic growth, or the largest space for growth in terms of jobs, which is energy efficiency. And on that list of data, you had names like Acosta, Martinez, Sanchez, Nguyen, Chin. These are the individuals who look like California. And as the president said in his State of State speech a few months ago, he talked about the future of America. Well, the future of America is California today. And how we include all these individuals in the economy of tomorrow is absolutely essential. So I absolutely agree with you, Senator Ricardo Lara. That's why it's incumbent on us as policymakers to proactively move the measures. Because I think the subtext is that CARB, left to their own devices, or the PUC, or the environmental movement, would they themselves be inclusive of all individuals in this economy? I don't know if that's the case. But I know as a person, as a legislator, as an elected official who represents the 24th Assembly District, and as a pro tem, and as a person of color, I know that I'm doing my part to proactively make sure that this is an inclusive economy. Senator Hertzberg. Senator Hertzberg made a very poignant point with regards to the energy space, specifically when we talk about 50% petroleum reduction use, when we're talking about 50% RPS new standard portfolio, and energy efficiency. The data is very clear, and what he articulated is accurate and right on target. Of all the job growth in the renewable portfolio space, whether it's wind, whether it's solar, whether it's manufacturing, installation, or whether it's energy efficiency, the largest job growth we've seen when you disaggregate the data is in the energy efficiency space, by far, especially Southern California. Los Angeles leads the whole state, LA County, when it comes to the energy efficiency space. And more specifically, because it's silent right now in the measure, but the issue of financial instruments and the flow of capital, if in fact we're going to reach our goal, which is absolutely critical. So I want to thank you for that, because you're absolutely critical. Whether we deal with repurposing, redefining dollars from the PUC, whether there's benchmarking or there's any standards for verification or not, that's something that we need to look at right there. We also need to look at the idea of the Green Bank itself right there. And lastly, let me get to the point. Ms. Fuller, I want to work with you very closely. It is not about, curtailing a certain industry, because we feel your pain. We understand that Kern County is in an economic crisis given the issue of oil right now. And conversely, when you guys do well, we all feel the pain at the pump too, in California. So, it kind of goes both ways in that way. It's kind of been going one way for a very long time, actually, but we want to work with you also, too. And I also have made it very clear in my mind that you refer to Kern County as a energy county. You have redefined, because that portfolio has become mixed. Colleagues, we have before us a measure that has an opportunity for economic growth for California, and to reduce our consumption on fuels that exacerbate the public health and the lungs of young children in the state of California. It's a big bill. It's a bill that we'll be working and engaging with each other still, between now and the other committees, EQ and Fiscal Committee. I just want to thank Mr. Chair. We didn't get an opportunity to get into the technical aspects, deeply, but I know there will be an opportunity. And one last thing I want to recognize. I do want to recognize the IOUs. I want to recognize San Diego Gas and Electric. I want to recognize Southern California Edison International. And I want to recognize Pacific Gas and Electric. I want to recognize them for their forthrightness, for the way they've engaged in the negotiations, for their willingness to cooperate and collaborate, to bring their ideas to the table as we continue to engage in this dialogue, as we move the measure forward, and working together with the Governor Brown to try to meet these goals. With that, Mr. Chair, as well as colleagues, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. We have a do pass to environmental quality recommendation. We have a motion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Do pass to environmental quality. Wesso.
Aye.
Wesso, aye. Fuller.
Respectfully, no for now.
Canella. Hertzberg. Hertzberg, aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hill, aye. Lara. Lara, aye. Leyva. Leyva, aye. McGuire. McGuire, aye. Morel. Morel, no. Pavley. Pavley, aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye. 8-3.
We'll close the roll on that one. It has votes to send it to Environmental Quality. Good luck with that. We're going to hear one last bill. Senator Leno is going to present SB 502.
A support, but I need to go.
Do we have any issue with this one? No issue?
So hopefully he'll be
No issue
brief.
with this bill. Can we move it?
How long does this
It shouldn't take too long. It should be pretty
I'd
brief.
like to move your bill. You have a problem with that?
Would you, for purposes,
He needs-
some transparency, I might just say
Would you
what
like
it does.
to make some just
I'll be
general comments?
very brief, colleagues. I'm well aware of the hour, and a couple of us have to get back to public safety and vote there as well. The San Francisco Bay Area Transit District would like to go greener and to have a greater renewable generation in its energy mix. All the bill does is amends a BART-specific Public Utilities Code section to add RPS-eligible renewable generation to its specified list of sources from which it can procure electricity. PG&E will be appropriately compensated for its transmission and distribution costs, and none of its bundles customers will be impacted. I ask for your aye
Thank you.
vote.
We have a do pass with amendments recommendation.
And I do accept the amendments on page 3 of the analysis.
Thank you very much. We have a motion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Do pass is amended to appropriations. Wesso?
Aye.
Wesso, aye. Fuller?
Aye.
Fuller, aye. Canella? Canella, aye. Hertzberg? Hertzberg, aye. Hill? Hill, aye. Lara? Lara, aye. Leyva? Leyva, aye. McGuire? McGuire, aye. Morel? Morel, aye. Pavley? Pavley, aye. Wolk? Wolk, aye.
It's time to present a bill, isn't it?
We have some,
The bill is out. We will now take up the bills on call. We have one bill on call, I believe.
thank you. Two, it's your bill.
Two.
Three, okay, and then 4.
Yeah, I think.
And it's usually Lara.
Okay. Is Leyva? Do we need Leyva? Yes, we do. Leyva?
No, we don't need Leyva.
We don't need you, Connie. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll on SB 180.
SB 180, do pass as amended to environmental quality. Current vote 7-3, Lara? Lara, aye. So it's out 8-3.
Call the roll on SB. That bill is out with enough votes. Call the roll
On number.
on SB 631.
Do pass to appropriations. Current vote 9-0, Lara? Lara, aye. Morel?
That bill is out with enough votes. Please call the roll on SB 687 by Ellen.
No, we closed the roll on that one.
We close that one, okay. On SB 693.
Do pass to the floor. Current vote 8-0, Fuller? Lara? Lara, aye. Morel? 9.
That bill is out with enough votes. Please call the roll on SB 726.
Do pass to appropriations. Current vote 10-0, Lara? Lara, aye. 11-0.
That bill is out. We are now adjourned.